time during this prayer, as I understand it, the Yeshua, Jesus really made the final decision to go to the cross and to pay the price for our salvation. And the Bible says that he would come here often with his disciples. I think it's a little higher up, but obviously he brought them here because every time they prayed, they were looking right at the temple. So, but as they were praying, when he came here at the end, he knew that God had called him to the cross. But this was a horrible moment for him. He knew that he would be abandoned by his friends, betrayed, spit upon, left alone, crucified, mocked, and as I understand also went to hell between the time of the crucifixion and the resurrection. He was facing the worst human experience that any human being had ever experienced. He was going to experience for 2 days or 3 days the full wrath of God upon himself that we all deserve. All the punishment of all the human race is going to come upon him in those next few hours. And he had to make the decision whether to do it or not. And he came in here and he knew he had just eaten the Passover with his disciples, made a covenant with them. And he came in here and he began to pray. And he said these words, and you all can quote it. Not my will be done, but your will be done. And I said, Father, if you can take this cup away from me, if I don't have to experience that, please do it. It's like I'm begging you. For me, as a human being, I don't want to do this. I don't even think I can handle this as a human being. Take it away from me. But if that's not possible, then let it be done according to your will. What's so interesting about that is that his disciples were there with him, and what did they do?
Fall
They
asleep.
fell asleep. And he came to me and said, can't you pray with me for 1 hour? I want you to hear that today. Can't you pray with me? This kind of prayer. People were asking questions earlier, the kind of faith that just says, God, please make me more comfortable, make me more blessed, and make me more happy. Which God wants that to be. But that's not what changes the world. What I understood is when he finished this prayer, and let's assume he prayed for an hour, he said, could you not pray with me for 1 hour? He made that decision, and from that point, everything else that happened on the cross, it was already done in his heart. It was as he just had to walk through it. But here, he had to make a choice. And part of that prayer, of course, you also have in what we call the Lord's Prayer, your kingdom come, your will be done. That's another prayer. So that's an attachment, your kingdom come. We want that to come to the earth. He also said, pray together with that, lead me not into temptation. He also said, pray to forgive those who have sinned against you. But the center of the prayer is, not my will, but your will be done. And it was this one person. And he prayed it as a human being. I mean, of course, he was the Son of God at that time, but he had to pray that prayer as a human being facing the worst experience that any human being would ever have to face. And he was honest with God. He said, I don't want this, Father, take this away from me. But then he turned to his disciple and said, can't you pray with me? And if this prayer for 1 hour for Yeshua, for Jesus, changed all of history, this is where our salvation was won. It was completed on the cross, the descension and the resurrection. But this is where he made the human decision to make it. That's what changed history. What could happen if you and I would learn to pray that way? 1 hour. And we also said, pray that you may not be led into temptation so that you won't be led into temptation. You can try to figure it out as you want. But I would say this way. On the one hand, it's may your kingdom come. That may your will be done on earth. That's what we want. On the other hand, we're saying, Lord, if there's things that I'm tempted to, things that I want to do, that you don't really want me to do, don't let me do that. Keep that away from me. Close it down. That's kind of on the left and the right hand of this prayer. But in the middle of this prayer, it's God, what you want me to do, I will submit to that. And I will obey it. And the lesson there is, why are you even praying it? Because it's obviously something that you don't naturally want to do. The things that you naturally want to do are the things you have to pray the other prayer. Don't lead me into temptation. You're sort of saying you understand as a human being, even if you love the Lord, our natural tendency is to want to do things that are not His will. We want our own comfort, huh? And the things that He really wants us to do, we tend to not to want to do them. Let me see if I can make that a little sharper. He's really saying, if it's the one thing in your life you don't want to do, that one thing, and He said, will you do that thing for me? Will you do it? The thing that would take you an hour to pray, God, I don't want to do anything but that. But if it's your will, I will do it. That's His prayer that changed history and changed all of salvation. That's what saved you and me from hell. And I wonder if we could learn to pray that way. My wife and I, we try to pray that in every single thing that's before us. I'm not talking about us, I'm just trying to give an example. We try to do this for like 3 times a day, for like a half hour. I said, well, if Jesus asked for an hour, to my wife, let's see, when we together, maybe we get away with a half hour. But, and just saying, Lord, not my will, but your will. Because I'm realizing that as a human being, I'm probably not going to want to do the thing that you most want me to do. And I don't like it. I don't want it. I never want it. But that's the place that you go, that place. And Lord, I recognize that probably the one thing I most want to do may be the thing that is exactly the one thing that you don't want me to do. Well, not necessarily. That's why you also say, don't lead me into temptation, let your kingdom come. But at that point, will you say that? And I almost imagine it this way, like there's a table on it with a whole bunch of objects on the table, different things you could do. And one of those is the thing that God wants you to do right now, and you're not sure which one it is. You say, God, not my will, but your will be done. He removes one of the things from the table. You go, I wanted that one. And you keep turning. And you're kind of watching while you're praying, and everything's being removed, and this one thing, just think, don't let that be the thing that's left on the table. And everything goes off, and it's that one thing. You go, oh Lord, come on. It's let that. When you get to the point, it's going to take an hour for you to wrestle with your own will. You're arm wrestling your own will down, and you're saying, I know that that's the type of thing I don't want to do, but if that's what you want me to do, I will do it. It's a tremendous act of the human will to say no to our normally selfish, comfort-seeking, ego-oriented desires, and saying yes to the will of God, which always has some cross aspect to it. Remember that Yeshua said, if you want to follow me, you have to deny yourself every day and take up your cross every day and come follow me. That's not something that he prayed just in the Garden of Gethsemane. That's an everyday prayer. It's an everyday walk with the Lord. Now that sounds hard, and it is hard. It's really hard. But in my experience, and also in just what he said there, that's the thing that bears the real fruit. Mm. Now listen, he came back to his own, the 12 disciples, or the 11, I mean, obviously Judas wasn't even there. He said, weren't you willing to pray that with me? Think about that. This prayer, he's wanting you and me to pray with him, and he can't find anybody to do it. He can't even find the disciples. The apostles won't do it. John and Peter were there and fell asleep. What if we would go there? It's nice for you to visit this place, but I want you to take this place with you. Could it be that someone here would be willing to pray this prayer 1 hour a day? I dare you. God, the thing that I don't want to do that you want me to do, I will do it. And the thing that I'm tempted that I want to do that you don't want me to do, cancel it. And in general, let your kingdom come and your will be done. Can you stand right in the middle of that every day? Is that what we pray about? I think this has to be the center. What happened here has to be the center of your spiritual life. This is what will bear the fruit that will change history and do good things, big things for the Lord. And I want you to think about it. It's not easy. I kind of add some things to those prayers. I say, God, lead me not into temptation. You know me, I know me. The things that I want to do are probably not the things that you want me to do. I'll be honest with you. Here's what I tell them. I said, you know what? I don't even have the ability to say no to that. So I'm telling you what, take it away. Just get it out of the way. I'm going to close my eyes, count to 3, and get the thing out of help me. Lead me not into temptation, but you get the temptation away. I'm telling you ahead of time, I don't want it, but I don't have the ability to say no to it. And then the thing that you want me to do, not my will, but your will be done. I'm too much of a coward and too weak and too comfort seeking and too nothing. I don't have enough faith to do what you're asking me to do. And I'm a relatively obedient person. But I don't have it. I can't go to that place. But I can say yes to God. Mm-hmm. And I say, God, I'm saying yes to you, although you know I can't do it. And you know I can't do it, but I'm saying yes. So I'm saying, please come into my life and make it happen. I'm telling you, I'm for it. I bring angels, do something, make that, drag me in, but I'm saying yes to this. As even Yeshua, when he stood up after that moment, they came to arrest him. You remember that moment he says to them, hey, where's Yeshua? And he stands up and he says, I am. I wonder if in Hebrew he said, Ehyeh asher ehyeh, I am that I am. I wonder if he said the name of God. And the soldiers, there was so much power on him at that moment. The soldiers just fell backwards and fell on the ground. So he said, I'm here. In that place where you say, God, even if it's the one thing I don't want to do, I'm willing to do it. And I'm submitting, and I'm saying yes to you, do it. But take me, lead me into it, because I can't just summon up enough energy and confidence to do that. And I'm saying yes, I'm submitting, I'm obeying, and I'm yielding into that. And what I find is, if you do that, he will usher angels around him. He will make it happen for you. He'll throw you a good pitch. You know what I'm saying? He'll make it happen easily for you. Because his problem is not making the thing happen and not even getting you through it. His God's problem is getting you to even ask the question in the first place and to be willing to say yes to him in the first place. Mm-hmm. And if he couldn't get even his 12 disciples to do it, imagine what he's looking around the world for. Imagine you and some of your most devoted friends to the Lord. Are they going to this place and hitting it? It's not an easy place. It's not an easy place. It said that he sweated blood while he was here. It said that he said he felt like dying. I mean, that meant he felt like he had feelings of suicide. I know you don't think about Yeshua, but I'm talking about as the man. He sweat blood. He said, I feel like I'm going to die. He said, my soul is bitter unto death. In other words, if your idea of the faith is that you're always going to the place of least resistance, of the place that's most comfortable, then you're never going to get to this place. You know what I'm saying? Are you willing to go into the place where you're praying in a prayer slot that you feel bitter unto death? That you feel darkness over you, that you're sweating blood, that you're going, God, take this away from me. I don't want to do this. But your will, not my will, be done. That is the place where the kingdom is changed. And I just want us to look at that. Because when he stood up from there, he just walked out, and everything else went there to the cross. He didn't even have to say anything else. At that point, he basically just kept quiet. I made my decision. Now what happens also with that, if you don't pray that enough, when something bad happens to you, you don't know if it's the Lord or not. So you have no faith, you're trying to get out of it. All of a sudden you become a coward. But if you prayed enough, you say, no, I prayed this enough, I got it. I know he heard me. I know I've made that decision. Then something comes at you and you say, hey, this is the Lord. It may look bad, but I got it. I know that I prayed for him to take this away from me. If it's coming at me now, it's going to feel bad, but the end of it's going to be a million times better. So you have a peace to it that basically you walk into a bad situation and you're not even trying to fight it. You're not even really trying to solve it. You say, I've already obeyed. I've made my decision. And the Lord is with me. Hey, I'm going to walk through this. I'm not going to try to defend it. Pilate said, don't you know I have the power to kill you? He said, hey, you do, but my Father put you in that position, so just think about that before you make your decision. You get to the point where you so prayed it out. It's almost the reverse thinking. It's not you're praying it for it to happen. You're praying it so for it not to happen that if it does happen, you're sure this has got to be God. And there's a place of submission to that. It's, what can I say? It's a horrible place. It's a horrible place to get to that point. But it's just a prayer. It's a prayer of submission to it. And you come out of that with a total submission to the Lord. Yeah, you know, God, this is what you want from me? The cross, being spit upon, being mocked, being killed, being tortured, going to hell, okay. I'm in your hands. And there's such a place of peace. And if you don't pray this prayer, what it means that every time something bad seems to happen, not even bad, every time something a little uncomfortable seems to happen, you'll lose your faith. Is this God? Is it not God? No. Pray that out ahead of time. Get it set with Him. So you got what you're saying, God, what's going to happen to me this next part of the day? I know it's got to be you. Because if it's something tempting me, I've already prayed to get that temptation out. And if it's something I don't want to do, I already asked you to remove it. So if it's there, I've prayed everything else out of the way, so nothing else can happen but the one thing that you want to happen in my life, I'm going to submit to it. I'm just going to, and it'll be just spreading my hands like at the